All right, welcome everybody. The Iceman here on the Iceman's Return YouTube channel. Today I have the pleasure of talking into Big Ray from Can-Am Wrestling Show, and we have a top five, and it's basically Tna'S biggest star losses in the Dixie Carter era. And I'm gonna give it to Ray to start off with his top five. I do believe he has an honorable mention, so I'm looking forward to hearing what that is.
All right. Well, first and foremost, it's my pleasure to be on this channel. I love channels that are extremely positive and people that know their wrestling and are true fans of the quote unquote sport. So I do appreciate your channel very much. That's why I'm here. You're a good buddy. We always talk. Andre loves you. So again, I appreciate having me on here. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome, Ray.
It's pretty cool.
That's totally awesome.
So first and foremost, I wanted to start off with an honorable mention, and the reason why this is an honorable mention to me, kind of because I don't think the team it's a tag team, and the team didn't really get a run. Now I can go. I was actually trying to compile this list before we start off, and dude, I can go at maybe 10, 15 deep.
Oh, there's a lot. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot. I mean, I can mention teams like the Motor City Machine Guns. I can mention guys like Monty Brown, if you remember back in the day. I can go on and on and on. But this tag team went on to become one of the top draws in the independent circuit. They went on to Japan to become the junior tag team champions over there, and part of probably one of the best factions in professional wrestling, the Bullet Club, and I'm talking about the Young Bucks, who came over to TNA, and they were given the name Generation Me. And if I'm correct, it was along the line around the time that Hogan was there.
Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah.
Right. So I just wanted to hear your opinion on my honorable mention, and it's for me one of the ultimate, what could have been.
Well, I'll tell you, they are definitely a good tag team. And, the thing for me is when Hogan and Bischoff came into TNA, I think a lot of things changed. And a lot of things that could have been weren't. And, this is my issue with TNA since the Hogan-Bischoff era. I think TNA has slid downward on a downward slide, but this year, I got to give them a lot of credit. I think they've done a really good job with their shows. But, the Young Bucks back then, they were a promising tag team, and it sort of makes you wonder why TNA didn't grasp and hold on to them and keep them.
Right. I mean,
but you can wonder about that with a lot of stars that they had, too, as well. So.
Well, absolutely, and the thing is that this is a great top five to talk about right now, because if you guys don't know out there in wrestling land, basically TNA did lose another talent. Depending on when you're watching this video, this past week, if you listen to the Human Suplex Machine, Taz, leaving the company, he's been there I think 5-6 years, right? Am I right, Jeff?
For a while, yeah.
He's been there for a while, and
even longer actually.
I think a little longer. I'm going on the low end, but it's for me. I mean, some people like Taz, some people don't like Taz. I always like Taz. I was always a fan of Taz. And if you listen to his podcast, which I don't usually promote many podcasts except for the podcast that I do, the PW Hustle, but but seriously, it's a big loss. I thought Josh Matthews was great to bring in.
He did a great job. Right. Himself, yeah.
And I'm going to ask your opinion. What do you think? I mean, who do you think? Do you think they go ECW and just have Josh Matthews call most of the shows himself, or who would you like to see maybe fill in for him?
Well,
for Taz.
Well, I'm sort of hoping they don't go back to Mike Tenay because they're stepping back in the past. Nothing against Mike Tenay. I'll tell you, it's funny that you brought up Taz, because this leads into my number five, and this is going to be a big surprise to you, maybe, and maybe a big surprise to a lot of people. This guy had a lot of energy. When he teamed up with Mike Tenay, he made Mike Tenay more energetic. I think in the early days of TNA, this man just brought a lot to the color commentating team, and that's Don West. I really miss Don West. I know a lot of people, to me, nothing against Taz, but I don't understand why Don West ended up leaving TNA. And I mean, if you go back and watch like 2005, 2006 TNA, Impact or their pay-per-views, you listen to this guy. He got Mike Tenay into it. Now, when Taz came in, nothing personal against Taz, but I think Mike Tenay just had his run, and I'll be honest with you, I just think he didn't really have the enthusiasm anymore. But number 5 was Don West. I mean, I think he just brought a lot to TNA.
Let me tell you something. Number one, me and Andre have mentioned Don West at least 100 times on our show, and Don West, I remember when I was a kid, I used to flip over to the Home Shopping Network, if I'm correct, and he used to have him selling baseball. Oh, he's opening packs, a pack of McGuire rookie card.
Yep.
It was like so awesome, man. He had so much energy, but my favorite Don West was heel Don West, and
oh yeah.
dude, it was just heel Don West was awesome, and Don West was good. And the thing is that at first it was kind of weird for me to see Don West covering wrestling, but as he progressed, as his character developed, as he learned, he actually kind of toned down a little bit. He went a little snarky, and then he did the full heel turn.
Oh yeah, he turned on Tenay. He walked off the set one time.
Awesome. Don West is a huge loss for TNA.
I agree with that 100% totally.
Oh, absolutely, man, absolutely. So I'm if you don't mind, I'm gonna jump into my number 5.
Okay.
And my number 5 had really awesome feuds with guys like AJ Styles, Jeff Jarrett, Monty Brown, who I mentioned before. He won the NWA at the time. He was there when it was still the NWA, but it went into Impact Wrestling when they went away from the NWA name, I guess you would say. And who I'm talking about is Christian Cage. Christian Cage was, in my opinion, Impact Wrestling's first major acquisition. And they let him go, and I don't really remember. I think it was kind of a mutual thing where he wanted to go back to WWE. But really thinking about it, man, Christian Cage, I think, meant more to Impact Wrestling than he did coming in as a mid-carder. I know he won the World Heavyweight title for like 3 days in the WWE, but seriously, this guy was a great champion, a fantastic heel. He really came into his own. People. It's funny, I feel like he really came into his own in Impact Wrestling, where he started with the whole.
He came to Impact. He was offered more money from the WWE. He wasn't let go by the WWE. He chose to come to TNA. That was the great thing about it. He was one of those few guys that jumped over to TNA, but he did it on his own, which was a big thing. I loved it when Christian was there.
Christian was one of my favorite champions. Christian was one of my favorite characters. He went away from that gimmick when he was crying after every loss or whatever, and I think he brought some legitimacy to the NWA Championship, which later became the TNA Heavyweight Championship. But for me, man, I think Andre Corbeil will be much better to kind of discuss why Christian left. I personally feel that Christian just wanted to he knew his career was coming to a crescendo, and he was getting injured a lot, and I thought he thought maybe it would be cool to finish his career, which he did basically because of his concussion.
Well, he
issue.
Finished where he started, really, basically.
Right.
And he was getting injured a lot, and basically that's why we don't see him anymore. The guy, he's sort of like Rey Mysterio. They got injured all the time, and now Daniel Bryant might be in the same boat as them as well. So.
And that's something me and we can actually discuss on another show. I actually did a podcast yesterday with my buddies from the PW Hustle, and we went in depth. Obviously, it's not a serious podcast. We joke around, and by the way, it's rated R. That podcast. It's not the OneWrestling.com Ray, but we really went in depth on the fact that Daniel Bryan. You know what? I'll save that for another day. But Christian Cage, again, huge loss for TNA. I wish they would have kept him, even if he would have stayed for 2 or 3 more years.
Yeah.
I think would have been a great service to that company. But it is what it is. So that's TNA's loss, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, we'll jump into my number four. And, I struggled with some of these, but my number four pick is a guy that sort of like came in and took the place of Jeff Jarrett. When Jarrett was, when it was first founded, Jarrett was the mainstream guy. He was the king of the mountain and whatnot. And, you know, when time has changed, this guy came in, and of course, he was a WCW huge star, and that's Sting. I think Sting um, did a lot for TNA. Um, of course, he did like he always did in WCW. He was only around like half a year for the most part. He'd come back each year around Bound for Glory time and end up winning the title and whatnot. But I think for me, he ran his course in TNA. But I think what he did for TNA was, replace the likes of like Jeff Jarrett and whatnot, and it brought something for the fans to really to relate to look forward to. Um, I don't like the way he ended up leaving TNA, um, the way he got beat. But in any event, I really thought Sting was a big addition to the TNA roster, and as time went on, towards the end, it wasn't that much of a big loss as it would have been if he left a couple years sooner. I don't hear no volume from you, Ray.
I have a tendency to press this little button on my microphone when I'm coughing or when I'm drinking coffee, so that you don't have
Gotcha.
any feedback. So I apologize. Um, so that's an excellent point. And I agree with the point that Sting did run his course at TNA. I think Sting did everything he possibly could do to bring relevancy to that company. I think Sting was also a great champion in that company. He was a great promoter of the product. You could tell that he had a lot of passion for the product. But the truth of the matter is, and although I do agree that Sting is a huge loss for that company, he was put into the Hall of Fame. He won their championship multiple times.
Definitely.
He was in almost every major storyline. He actually switched over gimmicks. He went from the Crow Sting to the Joker Sting. So I
Right.
mean, so he did everything he had to do. So in a way, I agree with you, but in a way, I kind of disagree with you that Sting would be on this list because Sting already did everything he had to do in TNA, and I think Sting gave every. And I have so much respect for Sting. And listen, man, Sting allowing Triple H to pin him. I don't care whether Triple H hit him with a sledgehammer. I don't care if he ran him over with a car. I think Sting should have went over. I'm sorry. Your opinion?
Oh, that's a topic I want to talk about after the top five,
Yeah,
actually.
we can do that. We'll get into that. But I'm gonna lead into my number four, and my number four is who I believe, and I'm gonna just throw it out there, and I want to hear your opinion on this. And my opinion was the best heel in professional wrestling for almost a 2-year run. The faction that he led was horrible, but he was that one diamond in the rough, and I didn't know he had it in him. Bully Ray.
Oh
Um,
God, yeah.
Bully Ray was just a fantastic star for TNA Wrestling. He was a great champion. He didn't need that faction behind him. Um, the
He was
Aces and
better
Eights.
without him, actually.
I thought he was better without him. If they would have put him with Brooke Tessmacher a lot earlier, I think that would have been pretty cool. But
But like it was with aces and eights, I liked him better when he pulled away, and actually I liked him better when he became face.
well, I like him. I like the bad guys.
You're the heel guy,
I'm I'm
okay?
I'm a heel guy. I'm a heel guy. So I do I do appreciate his babyface turn, But I'm telling you, when I say that he was the best heel in the business, I'm talking about better than anyone at that point in juncture. And then he got into great shape. I mean, he did justice to that TNA World Heavyweight Championship. He was great on the mic. So TNA losing Bully Ray and at the height, at the peak of his popularity, let's just say, for me, man, I mean, he's an easy number 4. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, no, yeah, I can concur with that. I was talking with my nephew about Bully Ray the other day, as a matter of fact, and it was sort of sad when he left TNA, just for the simple fact he was on top of the mountain with them, and the only thing that really bothered me is when Team 3D got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and then all of a sudden they're gone.
Right.
That's, to me, that was a slap in the face to TNA, which I think they get a lot of slaps in the faces, to be quite honest with you.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I can agree with you. Bully Ray, I loved it when he was with Brooke, and he turned on both Brooke and Hulk Hogan as well.
Hmm.
This was just great moments in TNA history. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, yeah, I cannot disagree with that whatsoever, not whatsoever at all. So.
Yeah, Bully Ray. I think Bully Ray had another good 2 years. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
I know easily.
Easily, and I think that he could have definitely continued the baby face turn and then maybe turned heel and finished off as a heel there. I mean, he was just amazing, dude. Bully Ray, easy number 4, dude.
Oh yeah. All right, we'll jump into my number 3, and I had a couple choices here for number 3. I'm going to go with the Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe. 2005 when he entered TNA, he was like devastating. He was undefeated for a long, long time. I think I believe it was Kurt Angle was the first one to beat him, if I'm not mistaken. But this guy, unfortunately, towards the last few years in TNA, did not get the push he deserved. He was great on the mic, great in the ring. I loved the Muscle Buster and everything else that he did. I loved his feuds with Daniels. I loved his feuds with AJ Styles. I'm just sort of like, when it's all said and done, I'm sort of glad that Samoa Joe left on good terms with TNA, because you got so much we've heard about all the other guys leaving, and it was always on bad terms. It was all about pay, or it was about this, or it was about that. But Samoa Joe, to me, was and still is a huge loss for TNA wrestling. It's just unfortunate they didn't utilize him the way they should have. I mean, if they used him the way they did back when he first came in for the first 3 or 4 years, and kept him going, I mean, he deserved again to become the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. I mean, but they just they put him in the beatdown clan. He was like, in a way, he was like a minority there. I mean, he was a lesser of everybody else. I mean, sort of bothered me, but yeah, to me it was a big loss.
I'm not going to get into Samoa Joe too much right now because he is definitely on my list.
Great.
But I will, I will get into my number 3, and my number 3 was, in my opinion, and still is one of the, but maybe not the best. But at that point in juncture when they left TNA, they were the best tag team in the business. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Christopher Daniels. Bad influence, Christopher Daniels. I mean, dude, what the hell was TNA honestly thinking by letting go the most entertaining part of every single show?
They were great.
Every show. Every show.
I thought to put them on my list as well, but I didn't. But I mean, I thought about them a lot. I mean, Daniels and Kazarian, I mean, towards the last 3 or 4 years or 3 years of TNA, those guys were it. They were great. I mean, how can you not say that they weren't,
Oh, absolutely. And again, I mean, they go to ROH and they're doing their thing over there in ROH.
Doing great.
They're doing very, very well. I just, because I mean, Kaz and Daniels, for me, I literally would, if I was gonna change the channel and those two guys came on. They were funny without being goofy, if that made any sense.
Exactly.
They
No,
yeah,
you're right.
they were professionals in the ring, and Kaz alone, I felt gained so much. He got so much better with his mic work and even in ring work. Being together with a guy like Christopher Daniels, who I
Cutting his
have.
hair really short,
Right, dude. I mean, it was
and
just
Daniel's coming out with the apple
the
martinis.
Apple Watch 2 doing a little strut and
Yep,
stuff, and
love it.
imitating Curry Man, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
Um,
Oh yeah.
is just for me, dude. Andre Corbiel knows I've mentioned these guys 1,000 times. I was legit sad when the bad influence left TNA, bro. So it's, you know, it's
No,
my
I can
opinion.
totally agree. I concur with that 100%. I was struggling to put those guys on my list, but I was sort of like think I was reminiscing back to when I was watching TNA back when I thought, unfortunately TNA back in the earlier days, they didn't really, they were on Fox Sports Net for like 1 year. They didn't renew the contract because they weren't getting the revenue. But they were on like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, who was around really to watch it back then?
Hmm.
And then, of course, eventually, then, they ended up getting the Spike TV deal. But anyway, my number two goes to the King of Mountain, Jeff Jarrett.
Mm.
I think for me, Jeff Jarrett and Jerry, they founded TNA, and I'm going to tell you something. They put a lot of their money into TNA wrestling, and if they could have had a great TV deal back when they were doing their shows back, from 2002, like 2006, I think TNA could have brought in a lot more revenue than what they did, but they didn't have the TV deal. But if you go back and watch some of their pay-per-views and watch their Impact Wrestling, look at the pyro, look at the lights and everything, and all the roster they had. I mean, they had a huge roster back then. I mean, the
They did.
Naturals for tag teams, America Most Wanted. I mean, the list goes on. Monty Brown, the Alpha Male. I mean, he was one of my favorites.
Me too.
I loved it when he was around. He was a guy that I wish still was around, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
But I'm looking back, and since Panda Energy, bought in, they own 71%. Jeff Jarrett like 20 or 79%. Jeff Jarrett 21%. And as time moved on, I don't know what happened. I don't know why Panda Energy didn't continue to, ignite what Jeff Jarrett had already started. I guess the bottom line is you got to spend money to make money. And I think Jeff Jarrett went all out to make a wrestling promotion. And yeah, granted, he was the NWA champion on so many different occasions. But you know something? You go back and watch those shows. Tell me he didn't give you the entertainment that you wanted to see. Jeff Jarrett relived his dream because back in WWF and WCW, neither one of them really did. They never really gave Jeff Jarrett, you know, the chance really to really be somebody. Yeah, he was champion in WCW on a few different occasions, but he lived his dream in TNA. And I'll be honest with you. Once he departed from TNA, I just thought it was a huge loss.
I'm gonna agree with you. He's not on my list, but Jeff Jarrett was definitely a huge loss for the company, and I still, on some level, wish that they could have worked something out 2 years ago or a year ago with Jeff Jarrett, instead of him having to go off with Global Force Wrestling, where I still don't know what the hell is going on with that
No,
whole.
nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Apparently, they had a TV deal. They don't have a TV deal. They have a roster. They don't have a roster. They technically produced the New Japan Pro Wrestling show, but New Japan Pro Wrestling produces themselves. You know what I'm saying? I mean, those guys go in the ring and they just kick ass
Exactly.
all day. So unless
Oh yeah.
Global Force Wrestling, I don't know, is the modern day NWA, and he's just gonna be like an old school promoter, running different territories. I don't know what he's gonna do. So hopefully, maybe they would open, TNA would open their minds to perhaps renegotiating with Jeff Jarrett and bringing him back. But Jeff Jarrett, not only as a talent, but as the owner or the part owner of TNA. I think was a big loss. So I agree with you 1,000%, bro.
Yeah, I really do miss him. Not being on TNA, I really do.
Yeah, I do too. So, anyway, I'm gonna jump into my number two.
Okay.
And my number two, and I'm gonna jump right into it. I'm not gonna give it a whole spiel, but my number two is Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, and now I'm gonna elaborate on what you were saying. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Definitely one of the guys that not only they missed the boat on. Now you say, what do you mean missed the boat? The guy was the TNA champion. Yeah, but I don't know if it was just me, but they kind of dropped the ball with him a few times, not just once. And this whole beatdown clan, Samoa Joe is the type of talent that needs to be leading a faction, not part of a faction.
You got it. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Samoa Joe is just a legit badass monster that can not only kick your butt but beat you psychologically. Because the guy cut, like you said, some of the best promos in professional wrestling. And I am excited to see Samoa Joe and the fact that and Samoa Joe in the WWE. So, dude, I hated the fact that TNA lost Samoa Joe, but and when I say this, I may get some heat, but I'm gonna tell you this is coming from me. At this point in juncture, I don't think TNA deserves a talent like Samoa Joe. The way, and we can talk about this if you want a little bit more, but the way things are going, let's say financially, or the way, the like that product is so good in ring, it should never be pre-recorded months in advance or weeks in
Oh,
advance, or
absolutely.
whatever. So,
Oh,
I
I
mean,
totally get that.
I,
Yeah.
yeah,
The only thing with Samoa Joe, if he does go to the WWE, I just don't want them to, he needs to be used properly.
mm,
And that's the only thing I worry about when guys that have already established themselves and they move on up to the WWE. I've seen it too many times. They put gimmicks on people. They sort of destroy. That's the thing with the WWE. Gimmicks make you and gimmicks break you. And that's the only thing I have, really, it WWE does some things a lot of times that doesn't really make any sense.
right. I mean,
But
look what they did with Chris Hero.
yeah, exactly.
I don't care what kind of shape Chris Hero is supposedly in. I think Chris Hero would have been a great addition to the WWE, and I think he would have filled a nice void when CM Punk left. But that's looking
They
in
dropped the
hindsight.
ball on Bram and Ethan Carter.
Oh,
I
Ethan,
mean, I know there was issues there. I mean, Bram, I love Bram.
let me tell you something. I was just talking about this on the podcast yesterday. Every time I look at that joke of a tag team, the Ascension, and I think of what could have been if Bram was there instead of, and I don't even
Yeah,
remember what the hell the little guy's name is, Connor or Victor. I don't know which one is which. They're so
yeah.
forgettable.
I think it's Connor. I'm not sure. I get
Right,
confused
right.
sometimes.
I mean, a monster tag team should not have one of the members the size of a referee. I mean, that's my
Right.
opinion. A monster tag team. I'm not talking about a tag team in general, but um, dude, honestly, man, I would. Could you imagine Bram and let's say Victor, if that's the big guy? That, my friend, is a monster tag team, dude. I mean,
Now that reminds you like Demolition. You know what I'm saying?
oh yeah, bro. Oh yeah, Demolition. I mean, I'm not gonna
Road Warrior.
I'm not gonna compare them. I mean, in ring, but
No,
Bram, dude, especially with his hardcore British accent, and oh, dude, I think it would have been awesome. I think it would have been awesome.
yeah. I think Bram is great. I really do. All right. Well, I'll jump into my number one, and I
Cool.
think that's probably maybe your number one as well. You had him on your show. He's phenomenal, and he's none other than AJ Styles, who, I saw him for the very first time in a short stint in WCW before they folded or got bought out and closed. And when he came to TNA, he was a major impact in TNA. And it's sort of funny too because the earlier years, all the way on up, I thought they used him pretty good for the most part. And then after he became champion in 2009, and then Hogan and Bischoff came in, and they had him lose in February to Rob Van Dam. To me, that was the downfall of AJ Styles, and TNA did not use him properly. And then they had the dark side of AJ, which I thought was a pretty cool gimmick actually, but to have him lose the way he lost and leave TNA, and then he was mentioning how they offered him a contract 60% pay cut. I mean, how do you do that? The guy carried your company. He was TNA. I mean, once Jeff Jarrett was out of the picture, even when Jeff Jarrett was in the picture, AJ Styles was that guy in TNA, much like Hogan was in WWF in the 80s, And, that to me, everybody says don't read the dirt sheets and whatnot. But you know something? Dirt sheets are 50-50. And when it came down to talking about AJ Styles, the dirt sheets were 100% correct. AJ Styles did leave. And that was, to me, he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And to me, that was the biggest loss TNA ever could have had.
Well, I gotta tell you something right now. You're correct in the fact that he's my number one. How do you lose your franchise? How do you lose your franchise?
Exactly.
That's like WWE not signing John Cena. It's ridiculous. I mean, this guy not only carried the company, he was the face of the company. And then you put him in ridiculous garbage storylines with that Claire Lynch bullcrap, which is something that you put a mid-level
Oh, yeah.
mid-carder in. I mean, she was horrible. It was stupid. I don't know what the hell TNA was thinking. And then not only that, but then they allow him to carry that title all over the world, and they hadn't even signed him yet. How do you put us? And that's another mistake TNA made. They put their major star in a major storyline without even freaking signing him to a long-term deal. And guess what? You want to give him a 60% pay cut? Great. Goes over to Japan and becomes the only Gaijin, the only American to win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, not once, but twice. And
Right.
he is the leader. He took over for Prince Devitt, who is now, what is he called over there in the WWE now? Prince Devitt.
Oh, yeah.
Was it not Fergal Devitt? Is it Fergal?
You got me.
Whatever. I'm Prince Devitt. All right. He took over for Prince Devitt, and he is now the leader of the best faction in wrestling today, and that is the
Yes.
the Bullet Club. So
And he's probably happier than ever
I,
as well.
no, he is extremely. Andre speaks to him all the time. He's extremely happy in Japan. I don't think he'll ever come back to TNA, and I don't think I don't think TNA deserves AJ Styles. It is what it is. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, I was just, I agree with you totally 100%. I just, you're right. How does TNA lose their franchise? And again, if Dixie and Panda are having issues with money, then don't hide it. Come forth. I mean, let people understand what your situation is. I mean, obviously most companies wouldn't. I mean, you think the WWE would ever, mention that they got financial issues, whether they do or not. The WWE has more issues than any other wrestling company in the business. And a lot of people are complaining and bitching, well, you don't talk about this, you don't talk about that. But you know something? They do have a lot of issues. But TNA has these little issues, whereas they had trouble with their pay before. When you lost an AJ, you lost a Daniels, you lost a Kazarian, you lost a Sting. Sting was going to leave anyway because, like you said, he did all that he could already do. Samoa Joe wasn't being used properly, so I don't think the money was all that much of an issue. But when you have these kind of issues before, how can you let it happen again? I mean, this is where I get crazy over. I mean, I love watching TNA. I love their shows this year. I thought the Ultimate X was really good. Unfortunately, 2 hours matches are very limited to time, whereas you wish they would have more time. But yeah, AJ is, when I think of TNA, I'll always think of AJ Styles.
Of course, because he is definitely the face, or was the face of that company, and
Like John Cena
yeah,
in
I mean,
WWE.
Can't, I mean, that's exactly who he is, who he was, and right now he's the face of probably the number two company worldwide in New Japan Pro Wrestling and the best wrestling product, in my opinion. So,
It is.
so you said that you
It
wanted
is.
you said you wanted to move on to a different topic really quickly.
Well, I had a couple topics I want to talk about. Now, Ric Flair's title reigns. Now, WWE recognizes him as 16. I think he's got like 28 or 29, really, if you wanted to count them all up.
Hmm.
Now, with Flair being in the NWA, WCW, then going to WWF, going back to WCW, and with the 16 title reigns, do you think it's inappropriate for anyone in the WWE to surpass those 16 title reigns? Or do you think the WWE won't let it happen out of respect to Flair?
No, that it's gonna happen. I mean, Ric Flair. They always say that what is it? What's the moniker everybody always says? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, that not rules are made to be broken, but basically records are made to be broken. And this is a business. This isn't, the wrestling world isn't what it used to be. So
Right.
I think the wrestling world has a great respect for Ric Flair. I think WWE has a great respect for Ric Flair, but I think John Cena will definitely surpass that. Um,
And I agree with that. I think Cena will surpass that, but I also think that maybe Randy Orton might surpass John Cena.
you think so?
Well, I'm going to tell you, John Cena is the face of the WWE, but in a lot of aspects, does WWE really ever show that? I mean, do you ever see it acknowledged on TV? I mean, when it comes
Yeah,
down to,
when they put him on the cover of WWE 2K15,
well, yeah, well, I
2K14
mean,
and 15.
it took
Um,
them long enough.
I
I
I,
mean, really,
I
it took
think
them long.
see I think the true face of the company, a true leader doesn't have to be touted as a leader. He just leads. Um, you know, in no way am I comparing John Cena as a wrestler to, let's say, Martin Luther King Jr. But Martin Luther King Jr. Basically helped lead, that movement for rights. And by, no, nobody, I mean, he never proclaimed himself as the leader. He never said, I
Right.
am your leader, but he led by example. He led, and that's the thing. And again, I'm not comparing the two. I'm just giving you guys an example. But John Cena, people hate on this dude so much. And again, I've always said this. Do I love John Cena? No, but my kid does. My kid does, and as a father, I love the fact that he looks up to a guy like John Cena, who I know, people that know him, who have met him personally, and have said he's a sweet freaking guy. He's a good guy. He's just really busy. The guy comes in. What is it? Comes in early, leaves late. The guy promotes the product. The guy lives and breathes the product. The guy loves wrestling. He's a smart businessman, even though just recently he kind of got under the WWE skin with something that he did. But
Oh yeah.
yeah. But other than that, we don't have to get into that. But other than that, listen, John Cena is the absolute heart and soul of the company, and I think there
And I don't
is.
see nobody else near to him at this point.
No, there is no one else near to him, and I mean, it could have been CM Punk, but the WWE were never fully behind. It could have been Danny O'Brien, but Danny O'Brien has too many injuries, and too many issues staying healthy. And that whole yes, yes, yes chant is awesome. It's fun. It's fun to do, but you know what, man? Everybody gets tired. Just
Yep,
like
I agree with you there
ju-
100%.
just like everybody got tired of doing the fandango,
Yep.
and everybody got tired of seeing Rikishi dancing in the ring doing this, the pop locking and the same moves. You get tired. It's a rare breed. And look, people got tired of John Cena's shtick. People got tired of Hulk Hogan. You know what I'm saying? Hulk Hogan, the most over baby face in the history of professional wrestling, and possibly the most over heel in the history of professional wrestling as an NWO leader. So, long story short, to answer your question fully, I don't think it's a slap in the face to anyone surpassing Ric Flair. I think it's going to happen. Again, records are made to be broken, and I think John Cena will be the man. Now, you're saying that Randy Orton will surpass John Cena. I
Well,
think
I'm thinking he could.
I think only time will tell. Randy Orton is Mr. Consistent. He's always there, and right now, dude, how over is he?
Yeah.
How over is Randy Orton? How old is Randy Orton right now? Do we know? How
He's
much?
like
He's young.
a few years younger than John Cena, I believe, even though he came in like months earlier than John Cena. I think
Right.
he's like 33, going to be 34 maybe.
Right. Then John Cena is close to 40.
No, John Cena is like I think he turns 38, I believe, this month, as a matter of fact, or he already did.
Okay, so I could see Randy Orton wrestling another 8, 10
Yeah.
years. John Cena, he's been through it, man. I see John Cena maybe around for another 4 or 5 years. I mean, good, like top level. And you already see that they're already moving John Cena down the card,
Oh yeah.
putting the U.S. title on him. So anyway, I'm sorry, it's your show.
No, yeah. My way of thinking is to Cena's been in the WWE his whole career basically and whatnot, and Ric Flair's been floundering around back and forth and whatnot, and I have no trouble with a dedicated wrestler that's stayed with one promotion surpassing somebody that holds the title reigns at this point. I mean, but
And I just wanted to make sure John Cena's birthday is April 23rd.
okay,
And he is at this
so
point
that's
in
coming
junction.
up.
Yeah, he's 37. He will be 38.
Yeah.
And Randy Orton, see, I'm trying to do my research. Randy Orton is 35.
Oh, so he's older than I thought.
Yeah, Randy Orton is older than you. Yeah, Randy Orton is 35, and he's 12-time world champion. So
Well,
anything is
it could
possible.
happen though. And well, you got to look at this too, Ray. John Cena's title reigns. I mean, obviously he got put into where he had to get the title last year because of Daniel Bryan's injury going into SummerSlam. But his title reigns, except for that one real long 11-month reign, most of his title reigns have been really short. Where Randy Orton's, were like 7 months here, and they were a lot longer than John Cena. So that's why I think Randy Orton's title reigns are a lot less at this point. But
And
you
Randy
know,
Orton, did get injured a couple of times, so he's had,
yeah,
and I know it sounds kind of stupid to say, being injured, but I think he's had a little less wear and tear on his body opposed to John Cena, who actually wrestled a match with a freaking baseball on his
oh
elbow.
yeah,
I mean, you know what I'm saying? And that goes to show the freaking dedication this dude has, John
then he comes
Cena.
back. He comes back from that injury and beats Alberto
Dude,
for
he
the
did,
world
but he did it
world title.
twice. He did it twice.
Yeah,
Remember when he came back at the Royal Rumble? He
yep.
wasn't he wasn't supposed to be back for months.
Well,
And I'm just, I just look, I get it, guys. I get it. We all hate the baby face. We all don't like the hustle, loyalty, respect. We don't like the fact that when we're booing him, he smirks. I am one of the many who would love to see John Cena turn around and say, like Hulk Hogan said, "All you fans boo Hulkamania, brother. Well, you can stick it." It's not gonna happen, dude. It's not gonna happen
yeah.
anytime soon. I think if there's a chance it's gonna happen, it's gonna be, oh, maybe in the next 2 years, when his stock is dropping, and they're trying to revitalize him. But
Well, he said too, until somebody can take over, and the little kids and whatnot. He does not want to disappoint the little kids until somebody else can win the little kids over. John said he will not go heel.
it's a damn
That
shame, and it could
if he
have been
doesn't,
that.
he doesn't. But he could be one of the biggest heel turns in history, other than Hulk Hogan. To
And
be
it's
quite honest.
and it could have been, and it's a damn shame because it could have been Danny O'Brien if he could stay healthy.
Oh yeah, exactly, exactly.
Kids absolutely love Danny O'Brien.
Oh yeah, they do. All right, now we mentioned this earlier. Your thoughts on Triple H beating Sting at WrestleMania? I had said all along before I did my predictions that Sting was going to lose to Triple H, but I was getting heat from a lot of people. So when I did my predictions, it, I take that back. I was saying that Triple H was going to beat Sting, but then
Right.
I got heat. and I changed my prediction to Sting beating Triple H. And I was telling my nephew Matt, I go, "No, Sting got the better of Triple H this whole time." I said, "There's no way." And the bottom line, this is my opinion about all this. Vince McMahon wanted Sting after WCW was bought out and closed. Sting still had contract with Time Warner, AOL Time Warner, so he was getting paid regardless, no matter what he did. And he always said, "I'll never go to the WWE." Now, it bothered me that he changed his mind, for one thing. Then he gets the WWE to get him there, and I'm thinking to myself, well, they're gonna let Sting go over on Triple H, because if it's best for business, this is what should be done. And to me, with Triple H beating Sting was like a slap in WCW's face. And what bothered me the most was a handshake at the end of the match. I didn't
Yeah,
get it.
I didn't get it either. I guess he thought that the handshake would kind of make the fans be like, "Oh, I guess they have respect for each other, so it's okay that." Anyway, good. Finish your thought.
No, it just takes away from any kind of rematch if there ever was to be one. I mean, I don't know what Sting's contract entails, how many appearances, but I don't even know if he'll be back at WrestleMania next year. They're talking about the Undertaker, but to me, where does that really fit in?
Well,
I
here's my fear. Sting will never win a match in the WWE because I don't know if he goes in the ring with the Undertaker unless the Undertaker is willing to put him over. And I do know that the Undertaker, Mark Calloway, has a huge amount of respect for Sting, and vice versa. I think the Undertaker, if the Undertaker puts over, Undertaker will only put over someone who he has the utmost respect for,
Like Brock Lesnar.
like Brock Lesnar, like him and Brock, man. Like he has a lot of respect for Brock and what Brock has done for wrestling. And anyway, my opinion on Sting losing to Triple H, I thought it freaking sucked. I thought it made absolutely no sense, and I thought you could have done anything different. But again, I don't want to be an armchair quarterback. I don't want to, again, I always say I'm not a professional. I'm not a booker. You know what I'm saying? I don't work for the WWE. I don't work for TNA. But dude, common sense, man. I mean, you bring this guy in, you hype him up. He's the heart and soul. WCW is long past dead. You made an emphasis on the fact that this is not WCW versus WWE, and then you made it, like, I'm sure you've heard 1,000 reviews, you made it WCW versus WWE,
Right, exactly.
which didn't make sense. So, I don't know, man, why Triple H decided to, or Vince, from what I hear, it was Vince's call, that overrode, from what I understand, Triple H didn't mind going down to Sting, but it was apparently Vince McMahon who didn't want to see it happen. And see, I honestly think that if and I know Vince defers a lot to Triple H, but I think if it was solely the call of Triple H, I don't know if we would have seen people. People are putting a lot of talking a lot of crap about Triple H, saying, "Oh, it's Triple H, Triple H.
Oh,
He has a big ego." But I don't know,
he
man.
has heat with Vince all the time.
What's that?
He has heat with Vince all the time on outcomes of matches. I mean,
Right. So I mean, you have two alpha males, and the most alpha male in Vince McMahon, who technically still owns the company, still runs the company, telling you, "I don't want to see you lose. It makes us look bad. How can we lose the WC?" I,
they
I,
beat him finally in the Monday Night Wars. They closed him down. What more do they want?
I don't know,
You know?
dude. I don't know. So anyway, long story short, um, I saw no benefit to Sting getting pinned, and I don't want to hear, "Oh, well, he didn't lose clean." Doesn't matter. It doesn't
Right.
matter. You
He
bought in.
still lost. A
He's
loss is a loss is a
he's
loss.
he's still lost. I mean, and it was a good match. I
Oh yeah.
enjoyed the match. I couldn't believe Scott Hall took that bump on the outside where he got a sunset flipped onto the concrete. But and Hogan even took a bump. I mean, no. I I don't know where they go with Sting. I think Sting will have another match. I think he may have two more matches. Will be with the Undertaker, I believe, at WrestleMania. To fill up that big old Texas stadium and break the indoor record. But only time will tell, dude.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I agree with you there. All right, the last subject I had, we were talking about Hulk Hogan earlier. Hulkamania or Hollywood Hogan? What do you think was the biggest?
Oh, Hulkamania, easy.
Do you think? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to, yeah. I remember when it all became and whatnot. Um, I know the kids were like totally, and they loved him. I mean, I used to take my nephew there all the time. He was a big Hulk Hogan fan when he used to come to Hartford, and I just, I don't know. Maybe it's because I remember the Hollywood, more recent than the Hulkamania. But I like them both actually, and I was totally shocked when Hulk Hogan turned Hollywood, turned heel. The only thing I didn't like about it was just like when he was a face in the WWF, he just held the belt way too long.
Well, I'm gonna give you a real simple answer, then we can get into it. You asked me, is Hulkamania what's bigger, Hulkamania or Hollywood Hogan? And I say that it's simple. The simple formula that because Hulkamania was so big, turning away from that Hulkamania made Hollywood what it was. So,
Right.
so because he turned his back on the red and yellow and became black and white, made that character big. Now, if you want to get into the depth of it, I mean, 1984, he was brought into the ring as Bob Backlund's help or partner to face the Iron Sheik, Bob Backlund. Hulk Hogan then later. Hulkamania, for you wrestling fans that don't really know, was established in Minnesota in the AWA. That's where Hulkamania was born. Hulk Hogan, again, doing movies with Sylvester Stallone, Rocky 3, so on and so forth. Hulkamania then took the WWE to a different level when Vince Jr. took over the company from his father. That's Vince McMahon now. Long story short, NWO, Hulk Hogan was huge, but Hulkamania was. I mean, when Hulk Hogan won that title, you had cartoons, you had action figures, you had him on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. If anybody knows what the hell that is, it shows our age,
Oh
right,
yeah.
Jeff? I
Yep.
mean, Hulk Hogan music videos, MTV. MTV wasn't that garbage that you see now. MTV actually had music. That's what the M stands for, young people. Just so you understand that it's music television, not reality television. But the fact is, Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania, it was a force, and it was a force for so many years. Think about it. Hulkamania stretched from the very early 80s, well, almost into the 90s. And here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing, that even when Hulk Hogan was NWO Hogan, and when Hogan would do this, the fans still popped.
Oh yeah.
When Hogan fought The Rock at WrestleMania, Hulkamania was still alive. People wanted to see Hulk Hogan
That
back
was
in it.
relived.
It was relived, and even in his advanced age, they were able to put him in the red and yellow, give him a freaking feather boa, and put the World Heavyweight Championship on him. I mean, for me, dude, Hulkamania uh, will live forever.
Well, yeah, with the marketing value and the money that was brought in, I mean, obviously it was major back then. Do you remember when Hulk Hogan was with Freddie Blassie
Of course.
earlier on,
Yeah,
when with the long cape and stuff?
Terry Boulder was, if I'm correct, his first. He actually used to have a hairy chest, and he used to carve a
Yeah,
T into his chest. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, he was a heel. I mean, he was, oh my God. I mean, a lot of people don't even know about those earlier days with Hulk Hogan, but
Well, a lot of people don't know
yeah,
that he actually slammed Andre the Giant when he was a heel.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
See, I mean,
they sold it.
nobody hears about those kind of things.
They
I
sold
mean,
they sold it at WrestleMania. Oh, the first time Andre the Giant's been body. No, he had been body slammed quite a few times in his early days.
let me ask you this:
Hmm.
what was your best time in the world of professional wrestling? I mean, meaning like back in like NWA days or WCW, WWF days, WWF days, WWE days, you know,
My best time personally,
that you really enjoyed the most.
it has to be, and I don't know if it's in correlation with my childhood, but it's got to be
And it could be, yeah.
yeah, but it's got to be the early to mid to maybe late '80s, because I was privy living in New York, and I'm sure you were also privy, being in Connecticut, to have more access to channels and other organizations that a lot of people don't. Here in New York, I was able to watch WWF. I was able to watch the AWA. I was able to watch World Class Championship Wrestling on ESPN after school every single day. I was able to watch Florida Championship Wrestling, Georgia Wrestling. I was able to. What else was I able to watch? I was the NWA. I mean, I was privy to all of this great wrestling as a young kid. There was wrestling almost every day on television where I lived. I don't know if there's a lot of probably a lot of young people in their 20s that maybe watch this. And back in the day, we used to have two. There used to be I forget, VHF and UHF.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Remember him quite well.
Right. UHF was there were two dials. We only had 11 channels, and then UHF was an extension. Those were like kind of like secondary channels, like almost, I guess, like I don't know, the beginning of cable, what cable television would later be. But I remember there was a channel. I think it was 68, and I would turn that channel, and I would get a fuzzy but relatively clear. I would get the UWF, and every day at 5 o'clock p.m. I would watch all this wrestling. So for me, because there were so many different territories. Oh my God! And also the magazines, dude. Working with Bill Apter, the Apter mags and Pro Wrestling Illustrated and geez, I mean, my grandfather, I never forget, used to always reach into his pocket. He was that typical granddad that had that giant pocket full of change, and he would give me like a couple of bucks, and I would run to the corner store, the deli, and they would have all the wrestling magazines. I remember looking at pictures of a bloody Dusty Rose, and who is this guy? And I would come and I would read about that, and who's Carlos Colon? And I would read about that, and who's this guy? Who's Japanese wrestling, and dude, it was just so much, and it was so fun. And then you had your cartoons, and you had your figures, and you had, I mean, dude, I could sit here and talk an hour about how great wrestling was in the '80s. So for
That's
me,
how I caught up with a lot of wrestling was the magazines. I used to buy them. I used to work third shift at night, and I'd buy them. And it's sort of funny too because I remember articles by Bill Apter, and I remember seeing Bill Apter at ringside taking pictures in the old wrestling days. But for me, I got into wrestling. I come home one day. My mom was in the bedroom and she was stomping her feet. She she was watching I believe it was a match with Tito Santana and Tony Garea versus Mr. Fuji, Mr. Saito.
oh wow,
And this goes way back.
hmm
And I started watching it with her and stuff. And then of course reading the wrestling magazines and stuff, and I go, man, Ric Flair. I mean, I used to, I never got to see Ric Flair and until like 1979, 1980, when cable came through our town. And then it still took a few years to get TBS, and I started watching NWA stuff. I got hooked in wrestling. NWA was absolutely
wasn't it great?
phenomenal.
Wasn't it on
It
605
was
every
Dusty
Saturday?
Rhodes and Flair in a cage. I mean, you had valets, Baby Doll, Precious. You had Missy Hyatt around. I mean, the matches were just phenomenal. You'd have cage matches that went an hour, and you got two guys in a cage match with bleach blonde hair. There's going to be blood.
hmm
I mean, it was awesome. And then you saw the likes of Sting come in. You saw the likes of Lex Luger. The Road Warriors were there. You had Paul Heyman as Paul E. Dangerously.
Dangerously.
He was there. And of course, Jim Cornette. How can you forget about Jim Cornette with
Oh,
the Midnight
the
Express?
Midnight Express. What was some of the other great teams? That's another thing.
Oh,
Tag teams.
Express was great.
The Rock and Roll Express, the
They were my
Fantastics.
favorite.
The
Fantastics.
Fantastics were really good. I mean, they had so many really, really, really good tag teams.
They were awesome back then,
I
and
mean,
that really linked me in. I mean, I did get to watch like All Star Wrestling, which was a WWF promotion show, and then there was another show I can't remember the name of it, which was WWF.
Superstars of Wrestling.
Yeah, it might have been that. Yeah,
Mhm.
and so I started, I was watching that, but back then watching those shows, titles just never changed, no matter what. Back in those days, I mean, at least in the NWA, titles would change, but in the WWF promotion, look at you had San Martino have it for what 8 years. Then you had Backlund when he got it, he didn't lose it. I mean, and same thing. Pedro Morales having the Intercontinental title. That's a guy that people don't even know about. He was a great champion.
I mean, he held all three titles, and a lot of people don't know this about Pedro Morales, but you're gonna laugh if you haven't heard it before on one of the Can-Am shows. But he actually used to come around when I was a kid because he actually had it. He used to date my aunt.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I never heard that.
He used to
That's
come. He
awesome.
used to come down to the Lower East Side because my father used to train with the same guys, and again, he was friends with Johnny Roz, and
Okay, Johnny Rodz. Yeah, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
yeah, Johnny's a good guy. He's actually still down in Gleason's gym. He has a gym
Oh,
there in Brooklyn where he trains. It's a good school. Hey, guys, if you want to go look for Johnny Roz and Gleason's gym if you guys want a good wrestling school in the tri-state area. Excellent. Um, but I remember him, and I was a very very young baby. I was very young. Maybe the super early 80s. I would maybe been 3 years old, maybe about 79. I remember him coming around, and there are pictures somewhere in this house. I gotta find them so I could put them up with him. And he used to like, I don't want to say stalk my aunt, but my aunt was 5'10", curvy, and very good looking. And yeah, he really liked my aunt, so he was around, and it was weird because this was towards the end of my dad's like wrestling career and stuff like that. So I never really got to see him wrestle a lot, but yeah, really cool. Pedro Morales was
one of the greatest.
one of the most over, especially in New York. And again, WWF, Worldwide Wrestling Federation, now WWE, was based out of the tri-state area, in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, so on and so
Right.
forth. He basically had a very strong, like the Italians were behind him, the Puerto Ricans were behind him, the blacks were behind him. Everybody loved Pedro Morales. People don't talk about him, man.
No,
Nowadays in WWE, you take two Puerto Ricans, two Puerto Rican superstars, you slap a silly gimmick on them, and you parade them as if they're Spaniards, which for me is quite insulting, because I think that you don't need a gimmick. And of course I'm talking about the Los Matadores, and you put them with a silly, stupid little bull, and then they also have their cousin Galito, who was, I thought, could have been a world heavyweight champion. I mean, the guy is phenomenal in the ring. He's great on the mic. He has so much charisma. But again, he's not Puerto Rican, but he's Caribbean Galito cool. So he's from the
right.
Caribbean. I spit in the face of people who don't want to be
No,
cool, which was a very cool gimmick. But I don't know why I'm getting off on that tangent. I just always had an issue with the WWF or the WWE, how they haven't treated a Latino superstar, I think, justly since. Do you remember? Do you remember the last time there was a super over world heavyweight champion Latino?
Eddie Guerrero maybe.
Eddie Guerrero, probably the last, and that my friend, it was like pulling teeth to put the title
Oh,
on him.
I was so happy to see Eddie Guerrero
And the
get the
fact
belt.
that they put him over Brock Lesnar was pretty awesome. So but that's one guy in the last what, since the 70s?
Yeah, it hasn't been. There has not been too many.
I mean, you had
In,
Los
in fact,
Boricuas.
how many black champions have there really been either? I mean, let's face it.
No, I
I
mean,
mean,
who Booker T,
I've seen Booker T. Yeah,
Booker T,
Tony Atlas back in the early days was phenomenal wrestler.
dude, Rocky Johnson.
Rocky Johnson, another one.
Rocky Johnson should JY. Listen, JYD. People, all right, he may have not been the greatest in the ring, but this dude was so over. Could you imagine? They didn't even put the Intercontinental title on this guy.
No,
They
and
they
he had
didn't
such a good gimmick.
they didn't even put the crown on him. I thought, like they never gave a shot to so many of these great, great quote unquote minority wrestlers. Then these wrestlers would, and that's why I loved the '80s, because JYD would leave the WWF and then go over to NWA and then win the United States Championship there, or the TV title there, and I would be so excited. I'm like, oh yes, finally he's a champion, and that's the greatness about the '80s. They had so many titles. They had the Florida Heavyweight Championship on the NWA, the Texas Heritage State Championship. I don't know if you remember that.
Yep.
They had
Oh
they,
yeah,
they had every single title in
he
every
had a
title.
six-man tag team
The
championship.
six man, the Koloffs used to have the Freebirds.
I love Nikita
Oh,
Koloff. He was one
Nikita
of the first wrestlers.
Koloff. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, awesome. The original
Just like
The original Goldberg, Andre calls him.
oh yeah, and then of course Magnum TA. That was a big disappointment with the car crash and whatnot.
Jesus
And
Christ.
somebody really big, and and you can even talk about WCCW's Gino Hernandez.
Oh, he was so
He was awesome.
cool with the sunglasses and the red Corvette, and
Yep.
just cut some damn good promos, and he was his own downfall. I think
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
drugs and
absolutely.
alcohol and
There,
everything.
there were some. There were great guys, minorities, blacks. I mean, the bottom line is, don't go to the WWF if you think you're going to go somewhere. Go
Unfortunately.
to NWA or whatever, WCW if they were around, or any other promotion, because at least these guys gave you the opportunity to ride on top.
Yeah, and it's an unfortunate thing, and even to this day, I look at three superstars, and I have to we have to end soon because I have to run and go pick up my son in
Yeah, I
baseball.
got
But
you.
I look at three guys: Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and what's the big guy?
Biggie,
And Big E. Big E is one of the most athletic guys I've ever seen for his size. Like really, watch him when he does that standing splash.
he's very
Um,
quick in the ring.
he's quick. He's strong. Could you imagine if they would have built Biggie Langston and really built him and then put him in the ring with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania? Now people are like, "What the hell are you?" Because the reason why you can't envision it is because WWE doesn't book him in a way where it's realistic. But now you put these guys, and they're supposed to be baby faces, and they're supposed to be, I don't know, what are they supposed to be, ministers or something in the beginning, clapping and dancing and acting like fools, shucking and jiving, like
Yeah,
I said. Um, but now they're giving us what they should have gave us originally. They're turning them heel now, where I don't know. I just, it's just such a waste of talent. Kofi Kingston, dude.
he
I
had his moment back when he feuded with Orton, and
did
they
he
never did nothing with it.
did he really? I mean, did like could they have
Well, they
not
they started it, but they never finished it.
so
And
over?
you mentioned Lesnar. The problem with Lesnar, they just make him out to be like unbeatable, unstoppable, and it's like it's almost like you can't put anybody up against him and beat him. And that's why at WrestleMania, when Rollins cashed in and ended up pinning Roman Reigns, I was a little ticked off because I would have rather seen Brock Lesnar take the pin.
But
But I'm
Brock,
not surprised he didn't.
but number one, Roman Reigns, we both know he's not ready to hold that championship belt. In
No.
my opinion, Seth Rollins is a more polished product than Roman Reigns, and what a better. I mean, they kind of worked around the system where Brock Lesnar again didn't get pinned, but you had Seth Rollins who had a sneak Seth Rollins is freaking awesome.
Oh,
I,
he's great. He's like a CM Punk type.
he is, but I don't know, man. I mean, he's got that. He's magic. That kid is just awesome. He's so good in the ring. He's one of the very few heels that can be athletic in the ring and still be hated, if that makes any sense.
He's great on the mic.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll be honest with you. I wish he would like break away with the Authority and just keep J&J Security. I mean, I would much rather see that because I'm tired of seeing the Authority. Period. To be honest with you.
Well, aren't we
But
all? But I think
I'm hoping Kane turns babyface, and I can see Kane and Rollins going for the title somewhere down the road.
Kane's gonna turn babyface because he's on the precipice of basically retiring. So I'm sure they're gonna have him go out on good terms. But I'm gonna basically leave you with this, and I want this to be food for thought for any of your subscribers. I'm sorry if I'm stumbling over my words, but would you think it would be cool if I think, I mean, if I was booking, a good way of ending the whole authority gimmick and maybe moving on to something else. And I know it's probably not going to happen, but I would love, and I've been saying this and touting this for a long time, I would love them to bring Shane McMahon, even if it's for a couple of months, to quote unquote take back the company, and then issue it into a new era, because we've been pretty much in this era for a while, this PG
Over
era.
a couple of years.
Over a couple of years, it's time for a change.
And I've
And
been wanting Shane to come back for a long, long time.
and speaking of change, before I let you go, a lot of you guys had seen that I was on a video with Sean Patrick, and you may know him as Sean's View Entertainment.
I
And
do know.
I don't know if you guys have watched a lot of his videos since then, but I don't know if you've noticed, but he's taking a different approach to things. People may say, "Oh, it's the same old Sean." I've spoken to Sean personally, and I'm trying to spread the word and saying that I think, in my opinion, I have no problem with the guy. Yeah, he's annoying sometimes, but that's his gimmick. That's what he does. But the Sean that I spoke to, smart, knowledgeable, passionate, and he really loves what he does. He loves wrestling. He loves his woman. He loves his subscribers. He really does, man. When he says it, I actually believe him. And he may be misunderstood, maybe because of what he's done in the past. But we've all screwed up in the past. So
Yes, we have.
so I took it upon myself, and Sean took it upon himself to meet. We spoke. A lot of people were saying that it was a work. I don't do that whole work thing. I'm pretty. I would say I'm honest on YouTube.
Down to
Um,
earth.
yeah, and I'm honest. Like I don't do storylines and stuff like that. I mean, me and Andre will play around on our show, but we don't do storylines. And I had no reason to do storylines. It was all real. Me and Sean were definitely gonna get at each other in court and stuff like that. Everything that was said was real. But cooler heads prevailed. So I just wanted to really clarify that guy to you guys. It was real. It really happened. I do believe in Sean's view, um, and I do believe in guys like Bruce Blitz who put in a lot of work. And maybe I may not enjoy Bruce's content, but I respect him. And I spoke to Bruce personally on Twitter, direct messaging back and forth, and the guy has a lot of respect for me, and I have a lot of respect for him. Again, you don't have to enjoy someone's content um, to not respect, to respect them.
Right.
So anyway, I know I'm long-winded with what I'm saying, but I just think it's important for the viewers to understand that YouTube. I have a great respect for the original content creators like Jeffrey Rose. That's why I mentioned Jeffrey Rose, like Andre Corbeil, like myself, Bill Apter, like Sean's View, like Bruce Blitz. All these really awesome dudes that get on YouTube. Gemini 888, that does all those cool DVD reviews. I have the respect, and I'm done with any beef. If you have something to say about me, say it. I'm gonna turn the other cheek. I always say this though. If you ever meet me, I dare you to say it in my face.
Got you there, Ray.
I dare you. Oh God only knows. I dare you to say it in my face. Which once you meet me, because I've actually been to wrestling shows, and I've had people. Oh snap! You're a big dude. Yeah, I'm a big dude, and I can take care of myself. So I'm not unbeatable. I'm not Brock Lesnar, but I'll tell you this. I dare you to say it in my face if you have an issue, which I know you won't. So we're gonna move on from there. I doubt anyone would be stupid enough to do that unless they're a trained killer or have a weapon. So, Jeffrey,
Thank you so much, Ray.
thank you.
Message me, and you know what else to do from there.
Yes, sir.
And I hope we can do this again some other time.
We will. I'm not bull stuffing you. We definitely will. I had a really good time talking, and I went way past
Me
what I
too.
thought we were gonna do. because I really enjoyed this conversation, and I think we can do this again here on your channel.
Great.
So, and down below on this video, you're gonna see our Twitter handles. So, follow my buddy Jeffrey Rose 12. Is that correct?
Yes, it
And
is.
you follow me at Big Ray's Show at One Wrestling, or just follow at Can-Am Wrestling. My partner Andre Corbeil at Andre_Corbeil. You got the show, Bill Schuyler on Twitter, and of course Billy Ray Valentine at Billy Ray Hustle. So, guys, rock and roll, peace, and love.
Peace out, Ray. Thanks an awful lot.
You got it, brother.